Pastor Doug here from Crossroads. It's great to be with you. I hope that today's message will draw you closer to Jesus.
Well, good morning, Crossroads. Great to be with you today. We are in week 2 of this digital fast. And if you missed last week, we are going on a church-wide adventure, asking every one of you to join in a digital media fast for 30 days. And last week and this Sunday, we're talking about what that looks like and why we would want to do that, some of the benefits that might come out of that. But it's something that we're joining in to do together. And I don't know about you, but last Sunday after church, the conversations were quite fun, both here in this auditorium and then afterwards at lunch with my family. I don't know if any of you experienced this or not, but my family, unsolicited, I did not ask the question, told me, this is what we think you should do for your digital fast. Now, see, it's great if you ask someone what you think what I should do for my digital fast, but I didn't even ask that question. And this is what they had to say. You need to stop double screening. And what that looks like in our family is often if the TV is on, it doesn't matter if it's a movie, a show, the news, I have my laptop on my lap. I am often double screening. That might be why I think that most movies and TV shows aren't that great, because I'm not really paying full attention. So they were telling me, this is what you shouldn't do. And we probably have some people in here that would love to tell you what you should stop for the digital fast for 30 days. I want to ask all kids and teenagers in here right now, if you could be real, if you could be honest, and this is my question, kids and teenagers, would you raise your hands if you would like your parents to be on their phones less often? Any kids want see that's honesty, right? That's honesty, and that's why we are in this together. Another unsolicited advice, another piece that I got from my family, is they asked me my smartphone compulsion test score, that thing we all did together last week, and I shared my number with them, and the response was, your number should be higher than that. And I'm like, why am I getting all this information? And we talked about it, and I'm like, well, this is the issue. It was a smartphone, a tablet compulsion test. It was not a laptop compulsion test. If it was a laptop test, I would have been such a worse score, but that wasn't the case for me. So we're in this adventure together. We're talking about what it might look for each of us for just 30 days to slow down, to turn off some of the screens in our life. And the question that I got from multitude of you, this was the biggest question afterwards. Doug, do podcasts count? That is what you want to know. Do podcasts count? And I thought, well, that's a great question. I don't really even know how I want to answer that. So I said, I'm going to ask Pastor Ryan. Pastor Ryan sent me a couple things about podcasts. These first 3 are from him. He says, if podcasts are distracting you from work or other tasks you want to do, that is probably time to pause or listen. If you're listening to podcasts that increase unhealthy emotions in you, definitely time to pause or listen. If podcasts are distractions from spending time with God, pause or listen. And then I added this one to the list. If you're uncomfortable with silence, if you can't get in a car to go for a 30-minute drive or a 3-hour drive and just be okay with silence, if you need to always have earbuds in, there's always music, there's always something else. You can't think about going for a 30-minute or an hour walk in just silence. If you're uncomfortable with silence, then it would be probably a really healthy thing for you for these 30 days to just pause or lessen some of those things, because you want to be at a place where you're okay to be silent. You're okay to be quiet before God. You're okay to be quiet with your own thoughts, what's going on in your own mind as you process and as you commune with God and experience Him, and just lessen the noise from the outside world. And one of the pieces we've been trying to make clear from the front on this, we're not saying that technology is evil or wrong or bad or any of that kind of stuff. What we are saying in all of this is we're saying this is the issue. Technology is not the problem. It is the overuse or the overdose of technology that is the problem. And man, is there a growing mountain of research that talks about how bad this overuse or overdose of technology can be for us, how it's impacting developmental skills, social skills, our ability to manage everyday things of life, our ability to be able to focus or even concentrate. Let me give you one more that we didn't cover last week, because we hit a couple of the hard spots, the bad spots, the troubling spots of overuse or overdosing on technology. There are many studies here in the United States. There are studies from the United Kingdom, from Turkey, from China. And all the studies say this, that whenever we are deep in social media, when we are intense in our time in social media, it can lead to this long list of issues. Here's just some of the things that social media exposure can do to us when we are in it all the time. Loneliness, anxiety, depression, social anxiety, low self-esteem, narcissism, insomnia and decreased sleep, and suicidal thoughts. And when you see this growing mountain of evidence and you hear these kind of things, it becomes so clear that there are parts of technology, there are parts of our life that we're self-inflicting pain. There are parts of our life where, man, the enemy is using this to kill, steal, and destroy far more than these things are bringing us a full, rich, and satisfying life. We actually looked last week at John 10:10 and said this is what we're trying to distinguish. At the end of 30 days, when you get past all of this, you're trying to pick out the good, the bad from your time on digital devices. What is it that is stealing, killing, and destroying, and what is it that gives a rich and satisfying life? So for 30 days, we're pausing, we're slowing down. We're just exposing some of the things that are harming us, some of the self-inflicted wounds that we're causing ourselves, and we're also trying to take and look and see what's beneficial that we want to re-engage in at the end of 30 days. So 30 days to lower distractions, 30 days to turn down the noise, 30 days to pay more attention to Jesus and his ways and to be with him and to hear with him. I told you that percentage, that statistic, that 100% of the people that have went on a digital fast are glad they did. Doesn't mean it was easy, but are glad that they did. Let me tell you about Shannon's experience. Shannon says this: when I initially considered a digital fast, I would have told you my relationship with my phone was pretty well under control. But boy, was I wrong. As the fast prolonged, I became fully acquainted with my previously unrealized dependence on digital devices. This dependence impacted everything from my sleep routine to my time with God and in Scripture each day. I found time I'd been wasting and became aware of emotions I'd buried through scrolling. She goes on to say, the most troubling part was that this unhealthy attachment to my phone had crept into my life largely unnoticed. But through this fast, our whole family realized how much power we'd given devices, and we resolved to take it back. I will participate in regular fasts from digital technology as a spiritual rhythm for the rest of my life. I can't recommend this practice enough. And so we're saying for 30 days, would you be willing? Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't want to, even if you think you don't need it, would you be willing to just take and participate as we all do this together? And we're not just joining thousands of Christians that have already done this. I believe as you look in the future, in the years ahead, we're going to hear about hundreds and thousands of churches that participate and do something incredibly similar to this. Because here's what we know. As Jesus followers, sometimes it's necessary to disconnect from the world in order to reconnect with God. Sometimes it's necessary to reorder your priorities, to notice what is happening to your soul. So 30 days to fast and to notice. That automatic tug that happens when the notifications go off and you want to automatically reach for your device. 30 days to notice how uncomfortable it can be if you leave your device in another room for a few hours or leave it at home for the day. 30 days to notice how uncomfortable we have grown with extended periods of silence. The spiritual practice, the spiritual discipline of fasting has ancient roots, going back for thousands of years. Not only throughout the Old Testament, you get to the New Testament and you see John the Baptist fasting, his disciples fasting, even the Pharisees practice fasting. And then we know that Jesus fasted. He took this extended period of time just before he began his ministry to fast. But when we look at the ancient practice of fasting, and even, the more recent hundreds of years, what is it that people would fast from? What was the thing that people were fasting from? Give me the answer. Food, yes. We would fast from food because food was a regular part of our lives. It was a distraction, the preparing, the gathering, the food. It took up so much of our time, and we were just saying, you know what, I'm going to give up. I'm going to pause before my Creator, my provider, and I'm going to take a break from food to make more room in my life to be able to hear from our Heavenly Father. I remember back in seminary, I had never practiced that spiritual discipline of fasting before. And, Denise and I, we would go away to a convent and like 3 days of fasting. And it was free from food, but man, it was also, free from technology because there was no portable technology then. And it could be such a great experience to reconnect and hear from our Heavenly Father. But over the past 15 years, I've been hearing more and more people that, well, I try to fast, but I didn't really seem to get anything out of it. I fasted from food for this period of time. I went away for this period of time, but you know what? I didn't really get anything out of it. And why is that? That this ancient practice, the spiritual disciplining of fasting from food has been falling quickly to the wayside. Why is it seems like it's been so much less effective in our modern world? Because so many people, when I would talk to them, they were fasting from food, but they weren't quieting any noise. They weren't slowing down their technology. They weren't making extra space. They were actually filling that void for hunger, not with space and time for God. They were filling that void with hunger with just more time on their TVs, their phones, their screens, whatever. And that's why I believe that today it is the digital fast that's going to have the greatest impact on all of us. There's that ability to be able to turn the screens off, to quiet the noise. The things have become such an everyday part of our routine that just consume so much of who we are that when we have a few spare moments, we feel like we need to reach for a screen or turn on a screen. So we take these 30 days to just pause all of that as much as what we can. It's not about what we're going to give up because the focus in the beginning is what you're giving up. But as time progresses in these 30 days, it's going to be more and more about what you're going to receive. I want you to hear this invitation from Jesus. Hopefully it's one you've heard before. Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden that I give you is light." Some people hear these words of Jesus, and they're like, why would I want to yoke up with Jesus? I don't want any more issues. I don't want any more things. I don't want any more burdens. They misinterpret what this passage is all about. But if you understand what the yoke is, 2 cows being yoked together, 2 ox being yoked together, joined together so that they share the burden. The burden is carried by both of them. The stronger takes on the majority of the work for the weaker. And that's the invitation that Jesus is giving to us. Whatever your burdens are, whatever your troubles are, whatever your cares are, to link up with him. So can I get a young kid? Are there any young kids that are willing to give me a volunteer? Let me see some hands. I just need one. But can I see some hands from any young child who's willing to volunteer? I'm thinking little. Come on. Who's back? Yeah, come on. I see that hand. Come up here for a moment, please. Because I need your help. What's your name? Jocelyn. Thanks so much for being with us here today. I have this bucket, and I need this bucket taken back to that back door. Would you be willing to carry it back there for me? Is it a little heavy? Yeah, it's a little heavy. That's going to be tough, right? But how about if we do it together? Would that be all right? Go ahead. Oh, Now let's take this back there. See, come on, yeah, you can give her a round of thanks. Well, you can put it right down here. Perfect. Thank you so much. You can go back and have a seat. But you get the idea that the invitation from Jesus isn't to take on more. The invitation from Jesus is to say whatever your load is, whatever your burden is, whatever it is that you've been carrying in your life, to link up with him because he is always the stronger party, and to transfer the burden to him and let him help you carry the load. It's still going to weigh on you, but now it's manageable. Now it's doable. Now you will find rest. Now you will find rest for your soul. And that is the invitation that Jesus gives to us. So for 30 days, here's what we're asking. For 30 days of this digital fast, Jesus is inviting us to come. Do you see these three main words? To come to him, to take on, in other words, to link up with him, and then to learn from him, to let him teach us. 30 days where we just sort of re-step into not only the person of who Jesus is, but the way of Jesus. 30 days to practice what this really looks like. To come to Jesus, to link up with him, to take on that yoke, to learn from him, allow him to teach us so that we can find rest for our souls. 30 days to quiet the noise, 30 days to focus on Jesus, the ways of Jesus, to yoke up with him, to receive help, to receive rest. Because so many people need rest right now. So many people are carrying such a heavy burden right now. So you're not convinced yet, maybe. Just from practice, from those that have been there, done that, have done a digital fast. Here are just some of the benefits that they experienced. They experienced improved mental health. That's the ability to focus. That is clarity. Even people in the professional industry who can turn off their screens, lessen their screen time, have reported just during the daytime how much more productive they are, how much more they can get done, how much easier it is to focus on the task at hand. Another benefit is that enhanced productivity and then better sleep patterns. Not that you even need more hours of sleep. You can get the same hours of sleep, but you feel more rested. And then people have experienced deepened relationships. And here's a unique one. Have you talked to anybody in the recent months or years and they say, I just miss being bored because there's always something for them to engage with and do? You grow in this appreciation for boredom and just for slowing down. Those are some of the straightforward benefits that you will receive from taking this digital fast, from linking up with Jesus, from spending time with him. I want to give you another story. This is what Megan learned from her experience on digital fast. She said, God made me for relationships. I learned that I had a deep need to bond and form connections with other flesh and blood people. Not only did I want real relationships, I wanted them to go deeper. I wanted more meaningful conversations with the people in my life. Digital fasting added relationship time to my life. I noticed I had more hours on my hand. Instead of reaching for my phone to see what people were up to, I used that extra time to catch up with them in person. And Megan went on to say, she was talking to her friend, like, well, didn't you know I was on vacation? And Megan's like, no, I didn't. She's like, well, I posted all my pictures. And Megan said, let's go out for coffee so I can look at your face and see your eyes as you tell me about your time on vacation. Deepening personal relationships, making time to connect one-on-one. So I want us to switch focus from not, can I do this for 30 days? I want our focus to become, what do I want to learn over the course of 30 days, and what do I want to take with me outside beyond those 30 days? Because here's one. Here's one that I'm praying for everyone that participates in the digital fast, everyone that takes this serious and steps into the digital fast. I want you to receive what Jesus has promised to give. John 16, Jesus says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. 2 chapters earlier he said it like this, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give you is a gift the world cannot give, so don't be troubled or afraid. That's a peace I would love all of us to get. That we want to not just receive for 30 days, but we want to carry forward, no matter what the troubles or trials of this world might be offering, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what's going on in your family or at your workplace or at your school or you're wherever, you just receive the invitation of peace, the gift of peace from Jesus. Now, if I only gave you all the good stuff that you get from a digital fast, and just stop there, I would be setting you up for failure. Well, let's go back to seminary. Myself, some of my peers, my friends, we would be going away to these monasteries or these convents, and we'd be doing these fasts. And we'd come back, and some of the friends would be like, oh man, they'd be telling other people, you have to do this. This is so great. You're going to learn so much. And I'd be like, yes to all of that, but you need to let everybody know. You are likely going to get a splitting headache from not eating. You're probably going to be in a bad mood for a while. You might have all of a sudden all these emotions open up that you didn't even know you had, that you needed to experience and walk through. There's some things you go through when you fast, when you disconnect from food, and the same is true for your digital life and for screens. Here's what I want you to know. Some of the initial withdrawal symptoms, like have a great week, everybody. That's what I'm saying, have a great week. Because this is going to happen for most of us in those initial days. You're going to experience feelings of anger, tension, frustration, or sadness. You're going to experience nervousness, restlessness, or irritability. There's going to be a heightened emotional sensitivity. You're not going to know why you're feeling more intensely. You're not always going to know what you're feeling or how to express it well. But these are just some of the withdrawal symptoms that can happen as you go through this. So from my experience in fasting from food, my experience from fasting from whatever it is that you fasted from in the past, a fast is done well. A fast is done correctly when time slows down. A fast is being done correctly when you're turning up the voice of God. And a fast is uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be. So here's what we'd love you to do this week. On your connection card, it reads like this. We want you to create and write down your specific plan for the digital fast. Then we want you to share that plan with some other people, your family, your friends, your peers, your small group. Just spell it out. Tell them what your goals are. You can tell them the why behind the what, why this is what you're doing. And it gives you that sense of you're not in this alone. There's a sense of accountability. It also lets people know why you're disappearing maybe from social media or pieces like that for a while. And then the whole idea is to begin your plan. You can begin it today if you already have it down. Maybe you have some work to do. If not, begin in the next day or two. But your whole idea is to figure this out, make it a little bit public, have some people hold you accountable, walk in the journey with you. This isn't something you're meant to do alone. That's why we're doing this together as a church family. And then start. Start this afternoon, or start in the next day or two if you need some time to get everything together. If you're reading the book, The Digital Fast, or you're in your small group, you're going to see a couple different options. One is this. It's the full digital fast. And he talks about making your smartphone dumb. Taking off all of those apps that you do not need, removing them for a period of time. And he says you need to figure out what is distraction and what is utility. You know what I mean? Most of us check our weather on the phone. That's utility. That's not a distraction. You want to eliminate screens for personal use and enjoyment. And then you want work apps during work hours. So we're trying to keep work at work, not bringing your work constantly home with you. That's what he describes as a full digital fast. And you can flesh that out as a small group, what that looks like. But then there's this whole idea of a modified digital fast. And he talks about taking all work and anything you can do on a computer off your phone. That's a great starting point. Or maybe you want to fast from entertainment through digital technology and your devices for a specific number of days during the week. For you, it might be, like there's going to be 5 weekdays, no streaming. 5 weekdays, no TV, but on the weekends. That's a modified piece. And then here's how I've said a third piece that might help some of you focus. Create your own adventure. Focus on your areas of greatest distraction. What might God be directing you to pause for 30 days, or you might make it a little bit longer. You might want to go to the 40-day mark. What will that look like for you? Now, last Sunday I told you I'd share my plan because I've had a lot more time to think about this than what you have. So let me give you a little bit of background before I show my plan, reveal my plan to you. Here's a couple things. It was over 15 years ago that I made a decision to say no to social media. So I have not engaged in social media for 15 years. That was a decision that was right for me. That doesn't mean it's right for anyone else. That was right for me. So I can't say, hey, my 30-day digital fast plan involves social media. That would be like sort of cheating, taking the easy way out, right? I could tell you that little test we took last week for your smartphone compulsion, my number was rather low. And there's some very easy steps I could take to make that number incredibly low. My problem doesn't lie there. So I've been asking that question, what causes me the greatest distraction? And I've been going to God on a regular basis and saying, what is it that would be the most benefit? What is it, God, that you might be asking for me to take a break from? Well, let me give you a little bit more of my history. Growing up in a home, my father every day read through the newspaper. And then I remember on Sunday stopping at the convenience store and every Sunday buying 3 papers for him, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Harrisburg Patriot, and another paper. I mean, that was, back in that day, that was a thick stack. And for the rest of the afternoon, between napping and reading his paper, with the TV on in the background, I get my double screening where that comes from, right? He would work through the news, and I never got it. I never understood the fascination to be all in like that with the news. And I made it, not only through my teenage years, I made it through my 20s, and I never got deep into the news. And then 9/11, 2001 happened. And man, I was all in. TV, reading the papers, news app. And it wasn't like I did that for a month or for 6 months. Man, I was all in the news for a time. And I never got back to what I would consider a really healthy place. I like being a newsie, but I never got to a really healthy place. And then 2020, pandemic, and everything else, and I was so deep and I was so in. So my plan, so much of it focuses around the news. Here's my plan. Remove news apps. They're already off my phone. My Google News feed, the other news pieces that I was looking at, they're off my phone. I didn't have a lot of emails coming into my inbox, but I unsubscribed from all emails. That's already done for me. Here's the harder part. Don't visit news websites or turn on the TV news. 30 days. I'm giving it a shot, everybody. You know what that means for me? What that looks like for me? Maybe I'll listen to some news the next day on a podcast, maybe when I have time. But if I really want the news, I have to phone a friend. Hey, can you tell me what's going on? I need to stop at a library. And I don't even know if this is true. I wanted to check this out this week, and I didn't get that far. Do they still sell printed newspapers like at convenience stores? Because I'm hoping so, because that's my only way to get news for 30 days. That's a big piece for me to just really disengage. And another thing that this makes sense to me, it says vacation mode. Normally when I go away for a longer period on vacation, I turn off my email so it doesn't automatically download and notify me on my phone. So I'm going to do that so that I have to pull down to get any refreshed email so I'm not being drawn in all the time. When I'm away, I watch so much less TV and I read more. So for 30 days, I just want to simply watch a lot less TV and I want to read more. Here's a harder one. Laptop stays in the backpack as much as often. I do work from home. There's some pieces I do have to do, so it has to come out. But when I've already had a full day of work, it needs to go in the backpack. It has to go away. And as a nod to my family, who has not so gently or graciously made this request, I need to stop or I need to reduce my double screen time. So that's what it's going to look like for me. Let me just give you some quick tips, some things that will help you. Set realistic goals, involve family and friends. That's people to help you out, to keep you accountable. Replace screen time with something fulfilling and engaging. Going for a walk. For me, that'll be reading fiction, where I don't normally read fiction except for vacation. Maybe there's a habit you want to do. You want to replace screen time. Okay, you reach for your phone, you touch your phone, drop and give me 20. Or you touched your phone, do 15 squats. Whatever it takes, just replace that screen time with a healthier habit, whatever it looks like. And for all of us, we said our prayer for this journey comes from Psalms. And the prayer goes like this. Can we just read this out loud together? And then as the worship team comes, I'll pray. Heavenly Father, help me to see clearly and to live fully. That's what we want to do, right?
Thanks again for listening. Any step you take towards Jesus is a step in the right direction. You can find out more about us at crbic.org. That's crbic.org.